Hi folks, Alex Bissett here with HB Communications UC Division. Thought I'd take a few moments to explain to you how to reassemble your system when it lands in Detroit, in particular the cart and the display assembly. So I thought I'd show you some pictures that I took during the disassembly and the testing phase, and I thought I'd share those with you to make the reassembly quite easy on site. So you'll see when you receive the two skids from HB, there's actually two pallets with gear on them. One pallet has the actual cart itself, and the second pallet has the display, the life-size system, and the stem for the cart. So let me show you how they look when they reassemble. So if we take a look at your systems fully assembled, they look something like this. Or one of them will anyways, the one that's landing in Detroit. The other system is being delivered out to Indian Orchard, Massachusetts. But you can see the display sits on a stem that affixes to the cart. And let me please show you how that happens. So if we took a look at the actual finished piece in a single version, let me go ahead and grab this one and I'll flip it around for you. Pardon me. There you go. So the place we want to focus in on for the moment is the neck. We'll need to affix the neck right here to the cart system before you get started. So what you're going to find is on the bottom of the neck there are 6 bolts and nuts that will need to be assembled to affix the neck to the cart. If you look inside the cart itself, you'll see where those bolts connect. So those bolts slide right through the top of the cart, and there are 6 nuts with washers that affix the stem to the top of the cart. It's really quite easy. So I left the hardware associated with these connected to the stem. So you won't have to look around for the hardware. It's loosely connected to the bottom of the stem. Just simply remove those nuts and bolts from the stem, affix the stem to the top of the cart, and screw them down nice and tight. And those 6 bolts will affix the stem for you. So let's take a look a little bit further as to how that works. So now that the stem has been connected to the unit, you're going to want to hang the display onto the unit. Here's a rear facing shot for you so you can take a look at that, how that works. So the display already has these brackets connected to the display. You'll see I'm kind of circling them with my mouse right now. But those brackets are what hang on the back of this particular T-bar that holds the display in place. You'll see right here there are some hooks. So what you'll do is you'll lift the display. It does take 2 people, someone holding one side and someone holding the other, and you'll hang those hooks on this T-bar that goes straight across. And then there is a screw adjustment to keep it sitting safe so that it doesn't pop off. I grabbed a picture of that for you right here so you can take a look at that. This screw adjustment, when you screw it up higher onto this bar, makes sure that the display can't rock forward or backward off of that particular T-bar. So be sure to screw those in once you've hung the display onto the T-bar. Okay. So from there, next you've got a couple of things that need to be connected. You'll have on the back of the unit, you'll see 3 power cables. This particular cable here is for power for the life-size express system. This cable is power for the camera 200, and this is your power for the display. So you'll need to simply take those power cables, which are located now down inside the rack. I'll show you where those power units are. If you look here, you'll see this is the power unit for the life-size system. This is the power unit for the life-size camera, and of course the display power unit's up here. So those 3 power units have to be connected. So if you would, please run this particular one up to the back middle part of the T-bar. This particular one will go all the way to the top because your camera is going to mount on the top of the display. And this particular power can be just simply dropped down behind the system or through the bottom of the T into the power unit and be powered directly into the middle of the rack. Okay, so that's power. We'll need to connect your life-size phone. The life-size phone has an Ethernet jack on the bottom of it. If you turn the LifeSize phone over, you'll see the Ethernet connection here. It's a Cat5 connection, and it's important that you use the orange tipped Cat5 cable that I sent. It's a long cable that will allow you to be able to expand the LifeSize phone from the cart system out to the center of a table, and then simply coil that cable back up and put the phone back up onto the cart system for safekeeping, and so that nobody trips on a cable later. But this orange tipped cable needs to go to the LifeSize phone, and I'll show you where it plugs in onto the codec in just a moment. You'll unpack your camera. If you look here, you'll see your LifeSize camera is in this box. There's a small hood right here that you'll see. It's a black plastic hood that affixes to the front of the camera. There's some spare cabling in here. It looks like an Ethernet cable inside there, not necessary. This particular unit connects with an HDMI cable and the power cable that we just discussed a moment ago. So you'll run HDMI to the back of the camera. I'll show you what that looks like in just a moment. Important, before you connect the small tray, this particular tray is what holds the camera in place just up above the display. If you look at this particular photograph, you'll see where the camera is up here. So the tray is connected with these two bolts that are also affixed to the tray, the camera tray. So when you remove those two from the camera tray, before you screw this in, you're going to want to make sure that you screw down the camera first. So we actually left for you the small screw that's required to do that right in the camera. We left it in there so you don't have to hunt for it or look for it, but you're going to need to remove that screw, put the camera onto the tray, put the screw under the tray and screw it to the tray to keep it stable and keep it from moving around. Do that before you tighten down the camera tray mount to the display stand. If you don't do that, you'll find that you're going to have to remove the camera display mount before you'll be able to access this screw, because the camera display mount does rest nice and neatly right on top of the display. So do that first. Get this fixed on there, then screw down the camera mount. Okay, so now moving forward to the back of the display again. Here are two HDMI cables. You'll find these inside your LifeSize packaging. One of them is used for the LifeSize camera, and one of them is used for the display connection from the display to the codec. You'll also see some Velcro here, the Velcro marking, and you'll see there's a little bit of a tray that's affixed to the back of this T-bar. That's where your codec or the LifeSize box is going to sit. If I show you here, here's a pretty good shot of how that sits there. The codec itself actually sits, sort of looks like it's upside down, in this little slot, and you'll have to sort of work it in there carefully. The Velcro is there to make sure that it doesn't move around on you. And the reason why we've chosen to mount that on the outside of the T-bar as opposed to just leave it on the rack inside the cart is for proper cooling. We have found that any video codec does require good ventilation and proper cooling, and this is a great way to ensure that the unit stays very cool and you don't have to have any added noise of an additional fan to draw air out of your particular rack this way. So it works great, and it keeps the cable connections nice and short here. You'll see here that we've connected one of the HDMI connections, runs up, turns around, and connects into your LifeSize camera. Then there's a second HDMI connection marked as HDMI 1 with a display connection icon on it. That simply runs in. You can bury the cable inside this particular T-bar and connects over here to your display. Then obviously the Cat5 connection comes down from here, coils onto the rack, and sets your LifeSize phone out in front of you. And then you have a Cat5 connection that connects into the blue LAN connection on the codec. That simply runs down here and goes to the floor, connects to wherever your box may be, and you're left with just a power connection that connects down into the middle of the rack. So that's really it. It really is a very simple system to set up. When you're done, your system should look something like this again. So you can see it's a complete system. The display will power on when you simply plug it into the wall. It's been pre-programmed. Everything there is all pre-programmed. I'm going to help you remotely to get your system set up and configured, and calling in with Indian Orchard. But I hope those pictures helped you out a little bit in terms of understanding how to reconnect your display on site, how to get things plugged in. And do give me a call. My cell phone number, area code 781-879-7039. My email address is alex.bissett@hbcommunications.com. And I look forward to getting you guys set up at Heatbath and Park. And thanks an awful lot for using HB Communications for your visual communications needs.